And wow, holy cow! They bombed the quarter. As I'm looking right now, Netflix is down over 35% now. Let's start with your take on it. I mean, the numbers were very, very bad. Very few positives, but free cash flow margins a little bit better. But man, the net ads really killed them, and the negative numbers and the weak guidance, and people just I'll leave it in droves.
The biggest number, it was a shock on the ads. And to be honest, I haven't followed this. I've never followed Netflix very closely because it's not something that interests me. I like the service. I understand it. It's getting my attention, Frank. The one number that stood out, we can go into the shock on that. 100 million households. What am I referencing there? 100 million households are using the sharing passwords that now Netflix has to focus on to monetize that, turn that into revenue. As they were saying, hey, when we were just in all growth mode, we didn't care that we knew it was going on, but we didn't care. Now you can only grow so big for so long. They're getting that market penetration. 100 million. You think that's accurate? I'm blown away by that.
You know what? If they're including like current households, and they said they weren't, but if you're including...
And that's worldwide, right? I mean, they're talking...
Yeah, worldwide. But if you're including like, your current household where, downstairs and upstairs and using the same password for your kids and stuff like that. But regardless, it's amazing that we could have technology that tracks everything that we do every second of the freaking day, every minute. Like it knows what we're going to do before we do it, and we get advertisements for it. It's like, holy shit, who's listening to? But we can't figure out the password thing, right? And it's in our business. A lot of businesses, there are ways to catch it. When you do, for our business, especially if we do, you lose your subscription. So if it's a $5,000 subscription, whatever it is, that we see that you're sharing that password with others, and we have technology for that, that's different. But when you're paying $14.99 or $12.99 or $8.99. I mean, going after these people is not really, you could shut them off or something, but there's different ways they can get back online. But that's just, I mean, that's a problem that's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And more to the numbers here, Daniel, when it comes to Netflix, it's they're not adding names because they don't do what Disney does and just charge, just gets free people on the list, and hopefully, they're going to pay for it one day. And, Disney has done a great job masking the massive problems. Disney's done a great job where their entire business was shut off during COVID. So they had no choice to do this. Everything that they do, they were the most impact, almost just as much as airlines. Everything that they do with the cruises, the parks, everything was shut off. So they're like, streaming, we got to get to streaming because people are home all the time, and this is the greatest business. It's the worst freaking business model in the world. I've been saying that for such a long time. And I've never seen so many people, so many smart, brilliant people in media jump into this industry, which the economics are horrible. You spend $30 billion on content. Let me tell you something. With Netflix, if they're spending $30 billion on content, and the people and the A-listers they have locked up, and they have the best content out there on all platforms outside of HBO, who's really been killing it lately, after the merger and stuff. But if they can't get this right, and this market is saturated already, forget it. Because right now, we're not saying, wow, this is a growth industry. This isn't even a value industry. Because after this, right now, Netflix is trading about 19, 20 times forward earnings, which is insane. And it's selling. I would say it's if you have longer than a 2-month horizon, because this is all algorithms, it should be down about 15% today. And then it went down 20% at open up. Now the algorithms are kicking in. It's down like 30, 35. You look at a company still growing sales faster than the overall market at 10%, trading at 20 times forward estimates. They could implement advertising on the lower prices what other platforms are doing for revenue. Their margins are still pretty tight. Their free cash flow is up. Listen, it was a negative quarter, but at this level, when you see a massive, massive sell-off and it's 2 straight quarters, it just makes you think a little bit. But the entire industry, look, they don't have pricing power anymore. There's just too many of these services. I told you, Disney needs to get the hell out of this immediately. They have the greatest content they can license to everyone who's in dire need of content. Instead, they're trying to compete, trying to spend $30 billion new content, which they don't have. They don't have it on their balance sheet. Their free cash flow isn't enough. I have no idea where they're going to get that money from unless they raise it somehow, maybe in a debt market or whatever. But it's one of the few companies where their earnings in Disney has not got back to levels pre-COVID. One of the only companies that you'll find. And it's crazy when you look at it, because the entire industry and how much money is being poured into this and how many options you have, whether it's, Prime or Hulu, which is owned by Disney, the Disney Plus and Netflix, Discovery, HBO, holy cow. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of these. You only heard about 7, 8, 9, 10 of them, but there's hundreds of them with different content. And now it's starting to show where, I want to see what other companies do based on these results, because this isn't just limited to Netflix. This is the best company in the industry, spending the most money with the best content, and they're not adding subscribers. So how do you add them? Well, you add them by, provide it for free and provide it for, the average revenue per user is probably around, if I had to guess, $13, $14 for the industry. For Disney, it's $4. they're going to look at that number and say, they're adding, that's great, they're still adding, and Netflix isn't adding. Netflix doesn't give their service away. So, yeah, you're going to add, but obviously Disney doesn't have pricing power, and, they're just going on that net ad number of how many people they're going to add. But at the end of the day, it's not just, they're adding, it's the average revenue per user. If you look at Disney, it's $4. If you look at everyone else in the industry, even Netflix is, I think it's like 14 in the US. So, let's see how this plays out. It's not good for the whole industry, definitely not good for Netflix, but Netflix is getting to the point where it is a buy here. It's going to be volatile, it's going to be crazy, but holy shit. I mean, lose 40% of its values is insane.
All right, so you'd buy it here, trade it, buy it? What do you
I would buy it. I would buy it as a long-term holder because I think even if they bomb next quarter, the quarter after, it's already factored in. So I think that part's out. I own it personally, so I'm losing money on this. I'm still holding it. I'm going to be adding to my position. But Netflix is one of the few streaming companies I do own. Not a big position, but I do own it, so I'm getting hit. And look, there's a lot of things here, Daniel, I want to cover. First, and we cover a little bit. There's little things here. So if you took away Russia, the cost of shutting down operations there hurts. And, it's nice to say it as a company, be like, oh, we're not dealing with Russia anymore. We saw that with Shell with their operations to take off massive write-downs, but no one's dealing with Russia. To put this in perspective with Russia, why it's such a big deal with Netflix, if the war wasn't going on, these numbers would have been positive if you include Russia, which isn't as bad as a negative 200,000, right? Maybe it's whatever, plus 100,000,
right.
150,000, but it's not as bad as the headline, right? So what does that say for the rest of the companies reporting? Right. Yeah. So who knows? A lot of these companies cancel operations in Russia. And remember, these are growth stocks that are used to growing 20, 30, 40%. And if they grow, Netflix still growing their sales by 10%, which is amazing. They're growing earnings, trading at 20 times forward estimates. But when you lose that growth component and it slows, that hurts companies, especially in a market where it's a negative market, right? It's a market that's bearish now, where it's hard to really gain traction. So the littlest thing that goes wrong, you're going to get nailed, especially in growth stocks. Another thing, when I look at in January, 47 analysts were covering the stock. There's only 3 sells. The median target of the stock was $692. It's $235 right now, $235, right after the sell-off. In January, Bill Ackman purchased 3.1 million shares of Netflix for over $1 billion. Reed Hastings followed, right? CEO, owner, co-CEO, but he's, the founder of Netflix. He followed with a $20 million purchase, which is a massive purchase for a CEO, guys. That's a huge purchase. I know he's rich, but that's a huge purchase for someone that already owns a ton of shares.
And sorry, this is in January?
This is in January. They both paid around $390 for it.
Gotcha.
Okay, $390, right? This is in January, right? This is 4 months later, right? So it's $235. I'm not here to poke fun at them because I own Netflix too. What I'm saying is the smartest minds in the world are getting it wrong. And more importantly, these guys bought just a few months ago, showing how crazy the market has changed over the past 4 to 5 months. And it's changed dramatically, where the Fed went, hey, everything's okay, it's transitory, to holy shit, we are tightening like crazy, right? And that's going to happen in the future. We're going to reduce our balance sheet. Interest rates are surging, supply chain concerns, inflation through the roof, a war going on where there's no end in sight, which creates more uncertainty. So if you're looking at a 3-4 month period, this isn't just limited to Netflix. This is like great investors. The person who knows more about Netflix than anything is getting it wrong. That explains how difficult this market is when you see people like this getting it this wrong. And I covered this in an educational segment, and it was with Kodiak Sciences, where everyone thought that was going to get an approval. It didn't. It went from like $100 to $10. This is the market that you're in, where you have to be very, very careful, where this is a huge surprise, everyone leaning the wrong way. I even thought Netflix, look, if they're buying Disney, if they're buying Time Warner, they're buying everything else, Netflix is the king, and they're spending, their content is great. They're putting out more content than everybody right now, new content, and they're getting nailed and having trouble getting subscribers. That just goes to tell you, watch out for the rest of the industry. It's really depending on this model.
And they're all trading lower. Warner Brothers, the new Discovery edition or combination.
And they've been killing it with their content. They probably have the best content out there right now. Like
and HBO Max and all that. So they're all trading in kind of sympathy with that. From my perspective, the $100 million, like I said, shocked the hell out of me. That's just funny to think about. I like your play on the long-term thing. I would maybe trade it here, but I'm okay just being on the sidelines with this. Again, it's just personal preference on, I think they have great quality and content. I like from the macro view, you have a lot of, for now, we've gone from, we love competition to it's no big deal to now acknowledging it and saying, hey, we're fighting for consumers. We've got to figure that out. And they will. Like you said, these guys are the smartest guys in the room. They're leading the industry in a lot of different areas. They're going to look at doing ad revenue and things like that. That'll give opportunities for ad agencies and stocks for us individual investors. But again, I can't prove it, Frank. I'm not that smart. But to your point, 40% drop in one day, that gets everybody lurking for a bounce in a trade and all that. So that's how I would prove it, and then sit on the sidelines and just enjoy the streaming service for whatever, $10 a month.
And
but I'm boring. This isn't my bag.
No, but I mean, for me, this is an industry I covered for a long time. I didn't get it, and and listen, I'm wrong on this as well, right? With Netflix, but it's an industry that, look, if you want to own, you own the best. It's Netflix. They're by far the best platform, best technology, best everything behind it. And what does that say for the rest of the industry who got in late, right? With all this competition, because how many of these services are you actually going to own? Not only that, this is about time. This is about how much time you have in a day, okay? And how much time you're spending on these. Now, when you're home during COVID, you're spending a ton of time watching movies, trying things to find what to do. Now you're looking at Facebook, you're looking at social media platforms. With Facebook had a lot of it, Instagram had a lot of it. Now, this is something that I really believe TikTok is taking away from. I mean, people are spending a ton of time on TikTok. And why is that? And we had this back and forth with TikTok. I'm going to tell you why. It's simple, because TikTok got it right. Now, TikTok, I haven't seen them ban anybody. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. But what I do know is they provide a platform where with Twitter, everybody sees everything. With Facebook, your friends and stuff like that, whatever. But with TikTok, it feeds you what you like. In Twitter and a lot of these other places, it feeds you what you don't like. And it gets you pissed off. It gets you angry. You're seeing posts that go against everything you believe in way, way, way far, to the point where even if you're, just slightly conservative, slightly moderate, Democrat, Republican, most close to the middle, they're trying to push you to the right and to the left. And just with some of these posts, you're like, what the fuck is going on? But that's what with TikTok, listen, whatever you like, that's what it feeds you. It could be extreme, something nuts, but that's what it's going to feed you. It's not going to feed. So I'm not going to get something I hate or I don't like. And that's where they get it right, because it's entertaining. You're laughing. It's fun. And it provides an experience where you're on it even more, where every time I'm on Twitter, I find myself going after someone because it has something so ridiculous that they said. And I'm like, come on. And it's not just politics. It's like stocks and this is going up. And then, they provide a comparison to another year when interest rates were like 12%. Look, the market fell 90%, whatever. And I'm like, come on. But I find myself always doing it with TikTok. You'll sit there and you just watch a video. You don't like it, you flick through it, but it's giving you what you want. And it's a big difference, but that's the time factor where how much time that people have in a day. And, you don't have a lot these days, and you're working and you spend time with kids, but that time, where is it going to? A lot of it is TikTok. A lot of it isn't, going to all these streaming services anymore, it seems like. And that's going to hurt this model. Let's see. I mean, this is about consumer behavior, and when it changes, you need to change. So let's see how they handle this.